What's happening, troops? Welcome back to another video here on the SharpDiv YouTube channel. We're bringing back one of the old series with your man Ryan 118 here. It's old firm rivals, and today we're going to be doing Stephen Davis versus Scott Brown. But how you doing, Ryan? Doing all right, mate?
I'm absolutely smashing, mate. I'm glad to be back on because do you know what? My record in these so far is quite good. The first one we done, Tierney McCrory. I backed Tierney. Now we see where he is.
I'm calling that just a wee bit of fun, to be honest with you, man.
A wee bit of fun.
At the time, Ross McCrory was just coming through. It was an exciting prospect and stuff like that. So I'll give you that one, Ryan.
And then obviously Morelos and Edouard find herself in the situation. Well, do you know what? I can't take it away from Morelos because he could be getting a move somewhere. He could be going to a top league in Europe. Who knows? Still a good player, but I think Edouard's just took the edge just a tad.
He definitely did take the edge for January onwards, but we made that video beforehand, and up until that point, Morelos was absolutely outstanding, man. If he could have continued that, like the final 6 months of the season, who knows what we'd be saying here. I think both of them would be probably worth about the same amount of money at the moment. Unfortunately, Morelos didn't. So, yeah, we also done Neil Lennon versus Steven Gerrard. This could be a big one. This season, mate, like, depending on how this season goes, could be the defining factor in the answer to that question.
I know, this is the one that tells, has Lennon got the bottle to continue the 10? Can Gerrard stop the 10? It's actual madness when you think about it. Like, you know, this season just defines everything about the characters of these managers. Obviously, a lot of people were harsh on Lennon when he joined, but this is ultimately what he was brought in to do. So, need to wait and see.
I know, and so far, Lennon has come under a lot of scrutiny, but bounced back with a win versus Motherwell. Do you think Lennon will last the full year if results potentially slide or whatever? Or do you think, before we continue, like bringing Duffy in could be massive for you guys?
First of all, I think bringing Duffy in is going to be huge. I think that's exactly what Neil Lennon needed. I don't think we're done. I think we need to still make a couple of signings. But, look, I think Lennon will last the season. I think now the team are the giver. I think they've got the spirit there. I think we'll march on. The big match will obviously be a few weeks' time when we play Rangers in the Old Firm, and that will determine a lot. If results were to slip to the point, you know, we found ourselves 8-10 points behind Rangers for any reason, then perhaps Lennon would get the chop. But I don't see us falling into that. I think we'll play our 2 games in hand, get back in track, and hopefully it remains close just for a wee while.
I guess only time will tell. On Rangers' part, I would say we still need another 10 brought in, potentially if Morelos moves on, maybe even another striker. Can definitely still improve.
At first I thought you meant another 10 players, and I was like, Jesus, Dev, God almighty, 10 players.
No, that'd be going a wee bit too far. So, guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Ryan's link will be in the description below as well. So pretty much what we're going to do is we're going to go through pace, shooting, passing, dribbling, defending, and physical for Stephen Davis and Scott Brown. But firstly, I'll give you a wee rundown on Stephen Davis, then maybe Ryan can give you one on Scott Brown. Obviously, this is his second spell with Rangers. He's came back at first. He didn't look all there, but when he was at Southampton, he wasn't playing as much, and then he found his form again. This season, I think he will be a bit part player, potentially, because he's age. That's just it. But if we want to run through his CV, he's won multiple titles at Rangers. He's won Player of the Year. He's one of the most capped, I think, if not the most capped player in Northern Ireland's history for outfield. Took them to the Euros. He was a captain of Southampton, done well down there in the Premier League as well. Obviously, UEFA Cup final with Rangers. So, an absolute legend in the club, Northern Irish legend. And on you go, Ryan, let's hear your rundown for Scotty Brown.
Well, Scott Brown, the absolute king of Scottish football, I usually call him.
I wouldn't say that.
10 years he's been the captain of the club now. He's lifted, you know, all 9 of the 9 in-a-row trophies. This year, probably not the player that Celtic fans would hope he would be. He's kind of dipped off a wee bit. And again, with Steve Davis, partly due to his age, you could say. But nonetheless, a mainstay in the Celtic side. To many fans' displeasure, a lot of people want to see him dropped. But he's the leader. He's the man who sits in front of the defence, controls it in the middle of the park. Well, tries to, you could say. And you know what? He's he's just an absolute dawn of the game. But whether or not he remains in the team the whole season, we'll have to wait and see. There will be questions surrounding whether or not he's good enough to continue that week in, week out. But I mean, nobody can take away the leadership and the motivation he brings to that squad.
Both guys very similar players, big leaders. Steve Davis being captain everywhere he's went as well, which is absolutely massive. And after we've just bummed these players right up, let's start with pace.
Oh God Almighty! You couldn't have picked a worse one to start her. Oh,
right, I'll kick us off then. I've actually given both guys the same amount of pace.
Oh, you're joking, so bad.
Have you?
So bad.
So I would actually say probably Steve Davis through his prime maybe had a wee bit more pace than Scott Brown. I don't know. I think it's always been close, even when they were younger. But what I've gave both of them is a 55. Gave both of them a 55. I think that's not quite as slow as Per Mertesacker. But also,
yeah, well, I would take a lot.
It's not quite Theo Walcott. Do you know what I mean?
Nah, it's not. I have gone very similar, and we're actually quite close. But I've gave them both the same, as you said. Throughout their careers, it's probably been quite close. Brown's best pace was back in his early days when he first joined Celtic. He was that attacking sort of player. There was times where he was playing out on the right as well. But I've gave them both a 59. You're not going to see them sprinting for miles on the pitch, especially Brown nowadays. He just kind of walks around the middle. But both of them, the age is what comes into play here. You've got to just be honest about that. But you know what? But it's a good start. We're both equal. Nice level playing field. 59 each. I'm going.
Nice. Right, we'll move on to shooting then, Ryan. Why don't you kick us off?
Right, shooting. Well, I think this is quite straightforward. You're going to get more goals for Stephen Davis, right? There's no doubt about that. Scott Brown's days of shooting is long gone. You might get a really good goal on every 3 or 4 months. You've seen him score some belters. But so I'll kick off with Brown. I'll go with a Celtic player first, I may as well. For Brown, I've gone for your magic number, 55. I've gone with that.
You love Brown. That number, don't you?
No, not so much. Nah. I couldn't exactly give him 10. That wouldn't be right. That's too low. And for Stephen Davis, I've gone a wee bit higher. Mostly because, as you mentioned before, he's more of a bit part player now. So I don't know if you think I'm going to be too harsh on him, but I've gone for him. I went for a 66. I feel like once again, they're well past their prime. They don't score as many goals as what they may have used to. Brown doesn't score at all, really. But Davis knows how to hit one. And we've seen that both at Rangers in his first spell. We've seen it at Southampton. And even now he scores from time to time. So, that's the two numbers I've went for there.
I totally agree with you, Ryan. Numbers slightly different, so we'll just get right into them. I've gave Scott Brown a 53. Cool. And I've gave Steve Davis a 65. So I've actually given him one less than you. But yeah, pretty much going back to their age. If you go back to Stephen Davis in his first spell at Rangers, he hit free kicks. He was actually really, really good at free kicks for a number of years for Rangers. Scored a lot of goals. Could also get himself in the box. He was more of a box-to-box midfielder. Now he's a wee bit more of a maestro in the middle, controlling games. But as you said, he's always had that in him. I can remember some massive goals for him in my time. Probably the biggest ones though were tap-ins. So he scored one against Werder Bremen, and then there was one against Celtic as well, where sorry to bring this up, but he kind of hits the ball into the back of the net and then just continues to slide right in front of Celtic. So that was a great memory.
It's kind of memorable. Scott Brown's most famous goal, perhaps, we tap in as well against Kilmarnock. Is like the Kilmarnock goal, won the league at Rugby Park and all that nonsense. That's probably the one that comes to my head first.
I thought you were actually going to say the goal versus Juve, because that's actually the same stand. Both of them scored that goal at the same stand. That's definitely the biggest Scott Brown goal that haunts me for sure.
Oh, it must be.
Big Juve get the last laugh that season, though, didn't he?
Well, I suppose, but we've seen what the players have become onwards, so I'll take that as a victory.
I heard this story that when he went back, I can't remember who we loaned him for. It might have been Bolton or something like that.
It was something.
I've heard a story that obviously he came up, won the league and all that sort of stuff, and like the CIS Cup at the time, and then see when he went back to training for pre-season, apparently he came in wearing his medal and all that because he was just absolutely He was just
Jesus.
fed up
Look,
with that team, and he was just like, get it, Rangers.
if there's anything more El Hadj Diouf, I would love to hear it, because that's just having a nutshell in it. Christ,
Absolutely love that. Love that for him. So, yes, I've went 65 and 53 for the old shooting. Next one's really, really interesting. We're moving on to passing. Obviously, both guys are centre midfielders. Both have changed over the years for sure. Scott Brown started out in the right. Wee Davis has played out in the right. I know I can always remember watching him at Ibrox, and he played right mid a lot of the games with Stephen Whittaker behind him. And the two of them were really, really good at overlapping, getting crosses out of the box and stuff like that. But as we are judging them on today's kind of modern version of them, I've gave Stephen Davis a 75 because I still think he's got it in him to control games on his day. I think he's just absolutely unbelievable. We've seen that a number of times. It's just whether we can now manage him right, give him the right amount of minutes, put him in when it matters, and that's probably for me his strongest part of his game, because he can also play the killer pass, which is probably the reason why I've gave Scott Brown slightly less. Again, he can control games. A lot of the passes that he does do, though, are limited for me, side to side and such. So I've gave him a 68, which I think still a solid score there.
I'd say that's
but
fair.
I think Steve Davis has got that wee bit more in him, long range passes and all that sort of stuff.
No, absolutely, you're spot on. I mean, 75 is what I've went for Davis as well. I've went the exact same, I must admit to you. And that's partly because, you've already said it before, maestro in the middle, Scott Brown. His passing game is much shorter range than what Davis's is. Brown loves to go for the wee sidewards short pass. Half the time he might be getting it back to the centre half as well. Yes, every once in a while you see him ping a good pass. I've seen it a couple of occasions, but it's very slim to none. So for Brown, I've went for 65. So a difference of 10 between the two. There is absolutely no denying that Davis is a better passer of the ball, and you're just getting
a better player.
We'll determine that at the end of the video, Dev. We'll determine that at the end of the video. But he's definitely, if you're looking for creativity, Davis is somebody he's one of those players throughout his whole career. Like, I thought, especially his first spell at Rangers, he can start something out of nothing. And I don't feel like he's lost that with age, even if he's not playing as many minutes. So I went for a difference of 10, 75 for Davis, 65 for Brown. Hopefully Brown manages to pick up a wee bit, but I don't suspect he will.
You can't teach a old dog new tricks, can you?
Nah, you cannot, mate.
I've actually heard a lot of people say, a lot of ex-Rangers players say that Steve Davis is the best that they've ever played with at Rangers, which is it's such a. I think Kevin Thompson said it, and he obviously played with Barry Ferguson as well. And Barry Ferguson's one of the best centre mids to come out of Scotland in the last a long time.
If you look at, Ferguson and Brown are perhaps the two people talk about the most coming out of Scotland. But especially one thing I've always said, and it's not me here trying to butter up your audience or anything so that they can go and watch my videos. But when people always ask questions, you do Q&As, you do stuff like that, and people always say if there's one Rangers player you could have the new, or one Rangers player you could have in the last 10 years, if you go back and look at my channel, I've always said Stephen Davis. What he's done in internationals, what he's done for it, terrific player. There's no denying that. So they're quite right, these people are coming out and saying he's one of the best players I've played with. He's brilliant.
I know, it's a testament to him as well. I mean, he obviously went down south and had a really successful career down there. A lot of players have tried it and they've failed. So, he's definitely a player. Why don't you just continue then on to dribbling?
Oh God, right. So, Scott Brown.
Oh God.
Scott Brown back in the day was fantastic at carrying the ball. And you know what? From time to time, he still can be, but he doesn't do a lot of it now. The legs are not the same. Steve Davis, I think, has the edge once again in this category. And I don't think it's by a great stretch. So for this one, for Brown, I've went for, let the cheers go, 69 for Scott Brown. There we go. I've got that for Scott Brown. And for Stephen Davis, I've went a wee bit higher, and I have gone for a 73 for Steve Davis. I think you're going to see him carry the ball 9 times out of 10 more than Scott Brown. Brown, I don't think he likes the pressure having too much of the ball nowadays, unless there's a lot of space for him to move with. Whereas Davis, I think, probably thrives a wee bit more in those scenarios. So, that's the 2 ratings I've went for there.
I'm also very similar to yourself, mate. We'll start with Brown. I've gave him a 60 because as you said, back in the day, he did play right midfield and he was topped up something awful. I remember a lot of people thought it was Brown that was actually going to Rangers and Kevin Thompson.
That's right, aye.
It was Scotty Celtic. How the tables have turned on that one,
do you
man.
Do you remember the video of the Rangers fans singing Scott Brown or whatever, like when he was playing for him?
No, that was fake. That was photoshopped.
Oh, was it?
Was it? I don't think so, no.
Oh, right.
No, I don't think so.
So I could laugh, eh? You had me going there. I was like, I've been living a lie. Oh, you're me face.
He was an original Rangers fan though, wasn't he?
But you know what? Allegiance.
That's what I always think. Exactly, allegiance has changed. See, when it becomes your job, it's all right for us as fans to sit here and say such and such, but see when it actually becomes your job, right? And a club puts an offer on the table that's triple, quadrupling your wages. A lot of people are going to take it, man. If obviously, for me, looking at them, right, if Scott Brown's a Rangers fan, let's say, if Rangers come in, give him an offer, and Celtic come in, give him an offer, you'd probably expect him to go to Rangers, right? But if Rangers don't come in, I don't blame a lot of these players for going to their other team. Do you know what I mean? I mean, you go through the years, Kenny Dalglish, massive Rangers fan, doesn't get an offer, goes to Celtic. So
it's very similar to
what happens.
Very similar to maybe Lewis Ferguson. You know, obviously a lot of people want to see him go to Rangers. And I was taught there was
me included.
The wee rumours going about. I don't know if you've seen, you're on Twitter nowadays, but there was wee rumours he was going to maybe go to Celtic. And I was like, oh God, that'd be weird. But you know, it's the same kind of scenario. If the offer's no there for Rangers, it is there for Celtic. You can't blame these guys for wanting to take a move. I mean, I sit here and I love to say, if I was in this situation, I'd be saying, no, never a chance in a million years. And probably would like to keep that the same. But when these guys are actually doing it professionally, they've got families and all the rest of it to look out for. You know, allegiances can change.
Aye. No, when I've met a lot of guys that are involved in football, I've realised that although they might have had a boyhood club, see when it becomes your job and you're trying to put food on the table for your family, you go with the offer that's there, don't you? To be honest.
And I'm sure Scott Brown's not regretting much. I'm sure he's enjoyed his time.
Well, he's obviously changed. He's obviously changed.
That expected. It's all right.
Unlike Alan. Unlike Scott Allen, who actually got a Rangers tattoo whilst at Celtic.
I know, remember that, man. Madness. Oh my God, jeez, that blew up Twitter, and that was it.
Right, so I've gave Davo a 65. Can definitely, again, through age, not doing it as much, but when he needs to, and also back in the day, definitely had a bit about them. What I would say about both, don't think they've got a step over between them. Do you know what I mean? I can't exactly see Steve Davis or Scott Brown flip-flopping somebody on the wing. It's just not going to happen, is it?
I remember Scott Brown done it once, and I can't remember what game it was. It was just sitting at one of the season ticket games, just sitting there, and Brown he whipped out something, you know, a wee skill move. I mean a wee roulette or something, and it sends the ground more up and laugh than anything, laughter than anything. You know, it's brilliant, man. Oh my God.
Do you remember last season when Ike Piazza, the Hearts player, started doing the step-overs, man? It was like trying to watch a 46 bus turn.
The worst part of it was, did it not actually lead to a goal? Did it not end up he ended up scoring? My God, man. Jeez.
I think that the other team were just dying with laughter, mate. Because that was absolutely ridiculous. So, as we said, both guys, no particularly gifted when it comes to skills, but definitely had a wee bit in the locker. Let's move on to defence. I'll kick start us here. I've got Stephen Davis with a 65 because again, through the years, he's fell back into a deeper role, and I think his positioning is really good. Although he's not the type of player that's flying into tackles, I think positionally he's outstanding and he's able to get into positions, obviously, positionally, in order just to intercept the ball rather than flying into tackles. Scott Brown, on the other hand, I've went and gave him a 75. I think this is one of his strongest attributes for what he lacks in technical ability. He kind of makes up for with tackling and controlling games, leading games and stuff like that. And for me, almost leading through fear with a lot of opponents. I think a lot of opponents fear Scott Brown as a physical presence, and also just to go back to defending, I'd say he's half decent at it. He's had to be because he's got other players now in the team around him, like Callum McGregor and Cham and all that are ballers that can play with the ball. Him, no so much. So I give him 75.
I think you've been very fair there, Div. Nice. I mean, I'm very similar to you. You look at Scott Brown and nowadays, and for the last 4 or 5, perhaps 6 years, he's been an incredibly defensive player. Since Brendan Rodgers came in, Brendan Rodgers knew exactly what he was doing with Brown. He was putting them in that situation where he was in front of the defence and taking up that role there. I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, I think it was like the 2017-18 campaign, it was like in the entire group stage of the Champions League, he led in interceptions or something. It was mad, like Scott Brown, and there's playing, you've got your Busquets and all that, and your Javi Martinez is not playing in the Champions League, and he's leading in interceptions, madness. So with Brown, I've went very similar. I went 74, so I'm actually below you. And I'm basically going to just echo everything you've said. So I went there, and then Davis, I've gone for a 65, mostly because you said as well, he's dropped that bit deeper, but he's not as defensive a player as Brown. So that's probably what separates them the most. If Davis was to take up the same role as Brown, I don't quite know if he'd hit it off as well, but he'd certainly be higher rated. But as you said, lead through fear. That seems to be. I mean, you heard what Graham Shinney said the other day on Open Goal.
That was unbelievable, wasn't it?
Aye, so like, you know, when you've got somebody like that, you know, you're not worried. You're not worried.
I love hearing stories about that. Obviously, said the original story said that he goes through Scott Brown, and Brown said he's going to break his legs, etc., etc. But the one that I really, really liked was the one where he said Celtic went up to Pittodrie and played them off the park, 3-0. And then Brown walked behind him and said to him, "I touched the ball with you, man."
Right. See, that's what I'm saying,
stories
mate.
like that, man.
King of Scottish football, mate. King.
Behave yourself. Only against Aberdeen. Only against... You heard the way Shinney spoke up the Rangers game and all that sort of stuff, and then the Celtic game was just like, let's lie down, boys. Let's just give Sinclair a hat-trick again.
Oh, the same old.
No, but I think that leads us into the last attribute.
Yep.
Really, really well. Physical. What you saying, Ryan?
Well, physical is the one I've separated the most, and we're looking at two players here who are warriors. There, like, you know, they've been through it, they've fought for the cause, they've, you know, bled for the badge. They're brilliant. You know, they love playing football and they love their clubs respectively. Scott Brown, this is the highest I've rated them in. It's the only time I've touched it in this. I've gave Brown an 80. And some people will say Brown kind of shies away from stuff at times, and I can understand that and I can see that. But the majority, you're looking at a guy who gets him in the biggest games. He can get immensely physical. So I'm going for 80 for Brown. Davis, I'm not going to be too harsh on. I think when you look at, if you were to compare them on FIFA cards, you know, they were really harsh to Davis. I thought, you know, I thought it was quite harsh. So
what did they give him?
They gave him a 63. So I thought, you know, that's a wee bit too low. I've upped it. I've given him a 70. Because, you know, yes, he's not a big guy. Neither's Brown. None of them are big guys. Davis is probably a little bit weaker. I think he would go down easier than Brown. But once again, a warrior, and Rangers fans will tell you that.
Absolutely. I think that is harsh on him, innit? 63.
Aye,
that's almost like a strong gust of wind's going to knock him out.
I know, exactly. I mean, he's not exactly... We're not asking for Akinfenwa type stuff here, but, you know...
Exactly. He's not the type of player that you see rolling about the ground or anything like that. Like, he can handle himself, and he's handled himself in the Premier League, he's handled himself at the highest stage, in the Euros and stuff. Aye. So I've gave him a 68. So 68, again, just a wee bit smaller than yours. In fact, what did you give him?
I gave him a 70.
A 70? Decent. So I've given him a 68 and I've given Brown a 78. So I've no went as far as giving him an 80. But again, this is, for me, where Brown excels, the physical part of the game. Because we spoke about Stephen Davis obviously having all the technical ability. I would say Brown has got the physical ability. We've seen it numerous times in the way that he gets out of tackles and stuff like that. He doesn't look, he's not the biggest. He doesn't even look like the strongest. But it's more with him, the mindset, I think. He's just game. So Stephen Davis absolutely is. But because he's technical ability, don't think he gets into these situations as much as Brown does.
I'll tell you what does it for Brown. We all know what does it for Brown. It's that napper, the heat, that baldy heat, man. That's just, when the hair's gone and he's out in the field, oh my God, no wonder people fear him.
Did you see the pictures? Did you see the pictures of him in the summer with the full head of hair?
Oh, jeez. Thank God he got rid of it. I thought he was going to come back with the hair. It was like when do you remember he done it in like 2016? Came back, played Scotland.
Was he not dreadful?
Proper eye. It was terrible. It's like, I don't know if it's just aerodynamics when he gets rid of it or something, but my God almighty, just as well he did.
I know, I remember seeing that. I think myself, he's got hair.
Aye.
You know what I mean?
I didn't think it had the capability to grow again. I thought that was it.
Nah.
And then bang, lockdown comes and full Barnett.
Arguably, it's a better Barnett than Brandon Barker's though, and Lee Griffiths'.
Aye,
Arguably, in fact, it's definitely better than the bottom of the game, man. They two are skid marks of society with the hairdos, isn't they?
Skid marks of society, brilliant. Well done,
but no, you couldn't imagine Scott Brown just rocking a fucking mullet or something. Like, it's just not going to happen.
Nah,
it's not going to happen. But
Ultimate.
Anyway, that's kind of tied it up there. To summarise, I've probably said that Scott Brown excels more in the defensive capabilities, through his physicality and stuff like that. Stephen Davis, more so his technical ability, dribbling, shooting, passing and stuff like that. But definitely both of them are able to control games. They have done for hundreds of games, done it at the highest level, and done it consistently.
Aye, you're spot on. I mean, Scott Brown, you're looking at a more physical defensive player. Definitely technically on the ball, though, who can carry it, who can create something, who can maybe have a shot. You're looking at Davis being the better player. And ultimately, they're two players that we've been lucky to have over the past, 10, 15 years in Scottish football. Yes, Davis had that period down south, but he came back up, and it feels like he didn't lose too much. Two great players, and respective to their teams have been, massive at points. Some big decisions and there was big moments have came in the way of these players.
Right, class, Ryan. That'll do us in, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, mate. Any time, it's always an honour.
Right, who's next? We would just keep it a secret. I think this is the fourth in about 2 years.
This is the fourth in about 2 years. So it's nearly old firm time. We need to think up one for there.
Aye. It's almost like when you watch back these episodes, it's like a transformation. Me and you, exactly. Every episode, mate, we're just totally different, mate.
I know. I think the first one, I need to go back and watch it, but I'm surely don't look anything like I did now, put it that way.
Nah, you look a wee bit more.
No.
Nah, definitely not. But anyway, that's going to do us for this video, troops. Ryan's link will be in the description. I've been SharpDiv, you've been yourself, and we're off ski.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant.